Today's focus is the 241,000 vehicles delivered this quarter by Tesla, which was announced on the 2nd of October. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. Your support makes all the difference in the existence and success of the channel. We also want to thank those of you who choose to like and subscribe. And we also wanted to note that we do have some trade consulting services if you'd like assistance in the process of how to best trade the environment we're currently in post the announcement of production, but prior to earnings being announced. Please note this is a copyrighted broadcast. Any use of information provided is prohibited. So I saw the numbers come out relative to production. There were actually 238,000 vehicles produced, but 241,000 delivered. This makes up for that leftover vehicles that were ready to go, but the deals weren't completed. So pretty much every quarter we seem to carry 2,000 to 3,000 vehicles that have not completed all the paperwork, but were effectively sold. How does this look? Is it good, bad, whatever? The answer is that there seems to be a magical number that's hanging over Tesla right now, which is 1 million vehicles produced and sold this year. And so there's a corollary pretty much between 1 million vehicles produced and sold and perhaps a $900 stock price for Tesla. So the big mystery right now is, when will the new factories open, and can they facilitate Tesla getting to the bigger number? And the other question mark is, well, how come they haven't started producing yet so they can have time to ramp and actually meet the numeric goals that everyone has for the company? So those are the questions we seek to answer today. So the first thing that comes up is that, yes, I believe the factories open sometime over the next 3 or 4 weeks. The challenge that seems to be lurking here, though, is it was pretty easy for Tesla to beat the chip shortage issues that they had with only 2 factories. But now what happens with an expanded number of factories looking for the same chips? Are we in the same position? The answer, I think, is maybe. Basically, what Tesla has decided to do is cut back on Megapack as well as Power Pack deliveries for homes, and to use harvest chips, etc., from those deliveries to expand vehicle production. So I think this is a good idea. Another thing that's going on right now is that Tesla has a problem in the EU with the 10% tariff. It turns out that if in fact you build the vehicle inside the EU, you have a tariff elimination because it's within the EU constructed. But the other issue is that if you're light on chips, you pretty much have to reduce the volume of production in current factories to shift that production into that EU situation. The other sort of question mark is, can Elon actually achieve comparable cost of production with all the automation in the new factory, particularly in Germany? That way there isn't a huge cost penalty from shipping vehicles from China into the EU. And by the way, obviously, there are a few countries that are not in the EU that are heavy Tesla buyers. So, that's also another variable that's lurking. So there's definitely some things hanging over. One of the items we always cover is the fact that there are 2 components to how we evaluate these numbers. The first component is, well, great that you've finished off these numbers. What do those numbers kind of mean? And, the issue that's coming up is without the extra vehicles, Tesla's at an average of 200,000 vehicles per quarter, and the fourth quarter numbers have not been seen yet. But again, if we can fill that in with nice production from the 2 new factories, it'll have a huge impact towards pushing stock price up nicely. So the 2 components that we always have to look at is, number 1, how did the numbers look for the quarter? Were there any surprises that were on the good or bad side? In this case, the surprise is that the target number by analysts was 220,000 vehicles. The actual number produced produced and delivered was 238,000-ish, and delivered 241,000 vehicles. So all of this data is actually really good news, and you can't argue with it. So the next question that always comes up for the company is, half of what people are thinking about is how did the quarter go? And the other half is, how is next quarter going to look? And so the answer we're coming up with is, because we know about the production coming on from the 2 new facilities, the suggestion then is that Tesla will blow away, the number coming for the next quarter. So that would probably mean, if you've seen the increase from 206,000 to 241,000, obviously that's a nice move up. The next question is, where would the next number be likely without the 2 new factories producing anything? That pushes us up into that perhaps 270 or 280,000 vehicles produced zone. And then, you can extrapolate for the whole year. We don't get the million, but we easily get the 800,000 numbers that are anticipated even without the new production. So, kind of where are we? Well, I really think that where we're at with the hedge funds is that the number is really good, but it doesn't exceed, let's say, the whisper number. And therefore, I believe what this means is that we end up with Tesla stock price stable to up for the first few days of the coming week. But as the 3-day rule kicks in, people that are all about fundamentals and seeing produced vehicles rather than anticipated numbers that are not being delivered will be very happy with what they're seeing. So my assessment is the 3-day rule here plays again, and plays for a good 20 to 40 points over, at least over the next couple of weeks. All of this, I think, will be obviously institutionalized as we get what the earnings numbers were, because the one problem we have with how Tesla does things is that, for example, they're reporting car production, but they didn't announce the number of megapacks or other energy-related installs that were done and paid for. So as we find out what that additional is, I think we end up with the way the numbers work for last quarter was 60,000 vehicles, or $60,000 per vehicle times the number of vehicles produced, pretty much gave us what the revenue number was. And yes, the actual sales price per vehicle was below the 600, but you have to add in the revenue and profit that they're getting from this sale of power systems. So overall, I'd have to say that terrific numbers by Tesla. I'm very surprised that Elon has decided to hold back the start of production at the 2 new facilities, because that would have added nicely to the numbers and been very compelling for the people who are operating in the short term. But for people who are long-term oriented, that delay, I think, is good news, because it just gives us more of an opportunity for growth that actually speaks well of Tesla either maintaining or growing above the growth rate that's the effective number for pricing of Tesla stock price currently. So what I would say, if we're sort of forecasting what will happen, is what I just indicated. I think there's nothing hugely negative there. I think that it's actually all positive for Tesla, and it'll be really nice to see sort of a lot of these facilities that have consumed a bunch of cash to be constructed now start delivering profit and revenue and assisting the company throughout. At any rate, we look forward to your comments on this. I think that everything we're at has been expected pretty much, and so I really think there's a possibility that we kind of flatline here without the 3-day folks coming in, because think about it, Tesla was in the 650s on the last earnings, and now it's almost $800 a share. And so I think the marketplace is really honoring how well things have been going, and I think we're probably waiting for any significant changes to happen to be driven by the new numbers we're getting with the earnings. So, and by the way, that's usually 3 weeks afterwards. So, I want to thank you for joining us for our Tesla portion. Just a reminder, we have a few SpaceX shares. If there's interest, we also wanted to encourage you to like and subscribe. Join us on Patreon to support the channel would be greatly appreciated. Next, we'd like to introduce our health tips. I've been doing a lot of reading and sort of getting into the whole discussion of what's happening with blood sugar. So I had a funny experience happen when I was in boarding school. I grew up in New York with, I have Jamaican heritage. And anytime I would deal with my grandmother or my aunts or my mom, the process of how you deal with food, particularly sugar and food, is actually a huge deal. I remember a friend of mine, I got an orange one time, and I was eating the orange and all the inside of the orange. And a friend of mine looked at me and goes, "You're not supposed to eat that. You're supposed to just drink the juice and be done with it." Well, that's a great idea, but there's one problem with that, which is what's called the spiking of your blood sugar. It turns out that all the fiber and other things that you're eating within an orange or a pear or all these other fruits actually moderates the sugar hit you're getting. So you're definitely getting the fruit, but the impact of the sugar on your blood sugar levels is moderated by you're actually eating the inside of the fruit and not just drinking the juice. In fact, some of the people I've spoken with, different sources, have just said that it's really hard on your body to take that sugar hit strictly from the juice standpoint. So I just wanted to make that our sort of topic tip of the day, to sort of try the difference between eating the fruit versus just drinking the juice, and notice how the sugar kind of rush you get is moderated by eating the fruit and even the inside of the fruit to get the fiber, etc., rather than just saying, "Hey, I'm just going to drink the juice and call it a day." Also wanted to encourage you to look below. We have a number of health tips from different doctors we've worked with over time. Been trying the no sugar plan for a few weeks. Taste buds are changing, so I guess I would have to say a good idea. You might want to consider that as well. At any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, Lehitro, Hebrew, Hoda, Hafez, Farsi, Strazvice, Russian, Nihama, Chinese, Kambawa, Japanese, Heido, our friends in Sweden. And I wanted to note that, we do want your input on the after show sort of forest bathing that we're doing with ocean sounds, usually water sounds, as a peaceful ending for the show. And we'd love to get your feedback and input on this. At any rate, thanks again for joining us. Have a great day, and bye for now.